My name is Josh and welcome back to FPL Graduates, and in today's video we're going to be going through a Matchday 3 Limitless Draft. I use my Limitless in Matchday 2, but I'm going to give you guys the best Limitless Matchday 3 draft. I know Ben is playing his as well. Ben won't be here for this video. He's on holiday at the minute, so you just got me, so let's get into it. Okay then, so kicking off with the goalkeepers. So in goal we have a combination of Jordan Pickford and Manuel Neuer. Obviously, if you don't know, the Limitless chip basically allows you to have unlimited budget for just 1 week, similar to the free hit if you've played FPL, but there's just no budget restrictions. So we can literally pick whoever we want. A couple of caveats before we get started as well. I'm recording this on Friday as the Austria game is going underway, so before France-Netherlands. So that's where I'm at in terms of how the fixtures and the groups are sort of progressing. So we'll touch on that as we come through the assets. So yeah, Pickford, obviously England have everything to play for in that last group game against Slovenia. They're the highest chance for clean sheet as well. I think it's like 52% in total. So yeah, really nice option there with Jordan Pickford, and he's been decent so far this tournament. And then we've got Manuel Neuer as well. I think he's probably the least rotation risk sort of asset from that German defence. Obviously, Germany have won 2 games out of 2. It's very likely that they're going to be progressing as winners of Group A. So I think there will be some rotation in that team. However, little caveat, we will get the lineups for all of the Group A games as they both kick off at 8 p.m. So we'll get the lineups at 7 p.m. I think on Sunday is when Matchday 3 starts. So yeah, really handy. Obviously, probably means that a lot of people are playing their Limitless and playing their wildcards this week. They'll be using that and bringing in a triple up of German assets, which is why we start with Neuer in goal. Obviously, if Neuer doesn't start in that game, we can go for a different German defensive asset. Okay, then, so moving into the defence, and we've packed up a lot of premium assets in here. So starting off first with Theo Hernandez. As I said, I've recorded this before France-Netherlands, so I'm not sure on the result of that. Again, if they do go on to beat the Netherlands and have 6 points, they're going to be likely to progress out of that group, and I'd expect some rotation from France. However, if they need to win or need to get some sort of points, I think it'll be important to pick some of these assets, because finishing top of the group is really important. It can mean that you're facing potentially a third place team in the round of 16 to make life a lot easier for some of these teams. So I don't expect mass rotation necessarily from these teams that maybe already progressed, but I do think there will be some. I think Theo Hernandez is really crucial to how France set up and play. So yeah, it will be interesting, but he looked phenomenal against Austria. It'll be interesting to see how he performs for me later tonight. Cancelo and Nuno Mendes as the double up for Portugal. Again, they could easily be on 6 points when this video is before the deadline. So we have to wait and see on that. But I think Portugal will want to sort of progress and as quickly as they can and finish at the top of the group. So bear in mind for a bit of rotation there. But with both of these guys, again, you're not going to get the lineups for them, so there might be a bit of a risk there to double up on a defence like Portugal in this case. But again, I think the upside is quite there. With a fixture like Georgia, Cancelo and Nuno Mendes. Obviously, Nuno Mendes got an assist in that first game, so really nice performance from him. So up next is Dani Carvajal. Obviously, Spain have Albania, which is a nice fixture despite Albania being pretty decent so far in the Euros. Carvajal obviously scored in Matchday 1, and he's been decent for Spain. Him and Cucurella both at left back and right back. Again, there could be some rotation here, so bear that in mind when you're taking these picks. For me, though, at right back for Spain, there's not too many options that they can rotate in and out. It's different at left back at Cucurella. Obviously, Grimaldo is a like-for-like replacement there. Right back is not so similar. So, yeah, there could be some rotation, but I just bear that in mind when you're picking some of these assets. You are going to want to pick assets that do have stuff to play for, which is why we move on to Mark Guéhi. Again, similar to Jordan Pickford, England do need to make a performance in that game. I don't see Guéhi coming out of that team. You could argue he's probably been England's player of the tournament so far, and why we're choosing him over the likes of maybe a Trippier or a Trent or even John Stones is because he's been picking up the most ball recoveries out of those defenders at the moment, and I think especially with the likes of maybe Trent, there is a bit of rotation risk there. I think we could easily see him get dropped. for maybe, I don't know, Kobe Minu. Who knows what Gareth Southgate is thinking at the moment. So, yeah, I think Mark Gahey, although you're on a limitless chip, is by far the best England outfield defensive asset. Right, moving on to my favourite area of the pitch. It is the midfield now. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier with the Manuel Neuer pick, we will know the German lineup before the deadline, which is really crucial because if they are going to rotate, we'll be able to sort of adhere to that and maybe bring in some assets that we wouldn't have thought of before. So at the moment, I do have İlkay Gündoğan and Jamal Musiala in this team, both of which have been absolutely phenomenal this Euro campaign so far. I captained Musiala last week. I know Ben captained Gündoğan in Matchday 2 as well, and both of which came away with nice hauls. And yeah, I think if they do start, again, Switzerland probably the best team in Group A other than Germany. But I do think Germany will run away with that and at least score by, a couple of goals. And I want, hopefully, both of these guys in my limitless draft if I was making one. Again, caveat to that, if they do start someone maybe like a Leroy Sané, or maybe they go with Nicholas Füllkrug up top or something like that, I think I would generally consider Füllkrug. I think he's been decent when he's come on and could be a nice Euro fantasy asset going forwards. So looking at the other midfielders, we've got Kevin De Bruyne up first. Again, I haven't seen him in match day 2, but Belgium created a lot of chances in match day 1, and that group at the moment is interesting to say the least. Obviously, at the time of recording, all the teams are on 3 points other than Belgium at the moment, so it's literally a wide open race, and they're going to want to, well, they are going to have something to play for no matter if they win in match day 2. And if they don't win in match day 2, it'll be even more incentivized. So yeah, for me, you could even argue with going for a triple up in Belgium attack. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne, I thought in match day 1 he didn't get involved too much, but I thought he did play well. So I think going ahead into match day 3, I think he'll be a decent option, especially against Ukraine, who defensively haven't been great, even in match day 2, where they obviously conceded to Slovakia. Elsewhere in the midfield, I've gone with Christian Eriksen. He's facing Serbia. Again, Denmark do have something to play for there, with Serbia obviously getting the win in match day 2. I thought he was decent in match day 1. Match day 2 went a little bit quiet, but for me, Christian Eriksen is one of the key players and talismanic figures in that Denmark team. Some other alternatives in the midfield that I like are Dominic Szoboszlai. He's obviously got Scotland in this game, in this match day. I think he's a good option. I had him in match day 1. Obviously, their performance wasn't great there. I thought match day 2, he looked a lot more dangerous and potentially could have come away with some attacking returns. If you want to dive into that Spanish, the Spanish rotation risk, I think Nico Williams is a fantastic asset, and I think a lot of managers will have him towards the knockout rounds of this tournament. He was unbelievable against Italy. Same could be said with Pedri as well. He was fantastic as well. So there's a lot of midfield options, especially around that €7 million price tag. Probably a key admission from this midfield at the moment is an England player, but I'm more than happy to sort of double up on that defence rather than the midfield, because at the moment England are not clicking going forwards, and I think if they are to win, it's going to be by a goal or maybe 2 at most. We're not going to, smash through an opponent like the likes of Spain and Germany have been doing so far this tournament. The final midfielder is Bruno Fernandes, and again, could be a prone to rotation, but I really would expect Bruno Fernandes to play this match day 3. It's against Georgia. He just doesn't miss a game. He doesn't really get rested for club, and I don't expect that to happen for country anytime soon either. He's not quite like Ronaldo, where the age is a bit of a factor. He's going to be ready, and I think he'll want to play against Georgia in that final group stage game. So yeah, for me, really nice option, and could potentially be a captaincy option going into that game. So moving on to the forwards then, and we've got Harry Kane at first. England do have something to play for. Obviously, they were going to want to top that group. So yeah, he's nailed for me. I know there was a lot of talk after that game against Denmark saying that he wasn't working hard enough and things like this, but for me, I just don't see a world in which Gareth Southgate doesn't play him. At least start with him. I know he subbed him off, but yeah, for me, on penalties. He showed that he's prolific as well. So yeah, for me, he'd be my favourite England attacker to go for at the moment. Obviously, there's not a lot of riches in that England team right now. Moving on to the next forward, we've got Cody Gakpo. Again, as I mentioned, haven't seen the Netherlands-France game at the moment, but I'm going on the presumption that France sort of win that game. And if they do, it's going to be interesting because obviously Austria have beaten Poland. Well, they're winning at the moment, should I say, at 3-1 in the 81st minute. So I'd hope they'd keep on to that lead. But yeah, so I'd imagine it'll be quite close between the Netherlands and Austria into getting that final space in the group, or the second space. So yeah, obviously they're going to be facing each other. It's going to be really, really interesting to see who comes out on top. So yeah, Cody Gakpo for me in matchday 1 looked really, really good. I'd say he looked a little bit better than Memphis Depay, although Depay could be on penalties. Him or Virgil van Dijk is still up in the air. And again, Virgil van Dijk could be a nice asset to maybe include in this limitless draft if you're sort of thinking that Netherlands will do well against this really strong-looking Austria side. Moving on to the final forward, it is Romelu Lukaku. As mentioned with Kevin De Bruyne, they have a lot to play for still, and this Ukraine fixture looked good. Ukraine defensively have been poor. They've switched out a lot of players between matchday 1 and matchday 2, changing the goalkeeper and everything. So, yeah, for me, it's a good fixture to target. I thought Belgium was super unlucky not to get a goal against Slovakia in matchday 1. Had so many chances. And for me, Lukaku is a fantastic option in that sort of sense because although he does miss a lot of chances, he still gets a lot of goals as well. So yeah, you've just got to take the rough with the smooth with him, a bit like Darwin Núñez in FPL. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the full total 11. Now let's get into the captaincy picks that I would choose throughout these match days. So starting off on the 23rd of June, so this is the first day of fixtures. This is when Group A are all going to play at 8 o'clock basically. So Germany, Hungary, Scotland and Switzerland. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these sort of games unfold. But for me, there's no way to look at past it of picking a German attacker. Even if they do rotate, I think the rotation options that they do have are still really good options. So number 1 pick would probably be Ilkay Gundogan. Obviously, he still has that sort of penalty threat. I thought he's looked fantastic so far since he's been playing that sort of 10 role for Germany. And like we've seen as well in the first 2 match days, he hasn't been subbed off too early. He's been probably the last attacker to get subbed off, which is a massive plus. Obviously, that could work in a negative this time because maybe he needs the rest more than the others. But, you know, he'd still be my first pick. I think second pick would be Jamal Musiala as well, followed by maybe Wirtz and then maybe Havertz or Füllkrug or whoever they decide to play. So that captaincy decision sort of comes down to an hour before the deadline. And as you can see here, make sure you follow us on Instagram to sort of see our latest updates. We always post our teams before the deadline over there. So make sure you drop us a follow if you haven't already. Going into this 24th of June, this is where this in particular limitless draft sort of lacks a little because the only player we have playing on the 24th is Danny Carvajal. So this is what I mentioned earlier, that Eriksen €7 million slot. You might want to look at a Spanish attacker in that position or just any sort of attacker that plays on the 24th. Obviously, this is all from the group of Spain. So you've got the likes of Italy, Croatia, Albania, all of those teams playing on this day. So yeah, it's quite a tough situation to sort of pick an attacker from because with Spain, the attackers, there's a good chance of rotation. They rotate enough as it is anyway. There's no real chance of your Spanish attacker playing more than 70 minutes realistically. They always get subs. So that's one caveat there. The Italy attackers haven't looked great. And to be honest, I don't know who I would go for. They're just not looking brilliant. Maybe a Scamacca, but then you're having to give up a forward spot. It just doesn't seem worth the trade-off. And then finally, obviously, Croatia face an Italian team who defensively are quite good as well. So I don't think I would go anywhere near that Croatian attack at the moment. And then you've got Albania who are facing Spain, which, you know, let's be honest, no one's going to be captaining someone from them. So for me, I would probably try and suss out a defender or someone like that, or maybe a midfielder that you think will start. I mentioned Nico Williams earlier in the video. I think for me, if I was doing Limitless, I would probably have him in my team just because I just take the risk. And if he doesn't play, then so be it, to be honest. You know, you can suss the captaincy. You don't necessarily have to switch the captaincy to Nico before you know that he'll be in the team, because again, the kickoffs are at 8 o'clock, so you'll get the team news before the deadline. So in terms of a captaincy switch, that won't be an issue of you losing points by picking him. So yeah, for me, I'd probably go with Nico Williams, or if you wanted to play it conservative, maybe go for like a Danny Carvajal, as I mentioned, where Spain don't have too many rotation options, and then you can captain him. Maybe he comes away like match day 1 with a clean sheet and a goal, and you're absolutely laughing. So moving into the 25th of June, this is when England are going to be playing, but it's also like a double match day, I'd like to call it, is because there's 5 o'clock kickoffs and 8 o'clock kickoffs. This is different compared to the first 2 days in this match day 3. So at the 5 o'clocks, we've got that group with Netherlands, Austria, and then France versus Poland. So, you know, you could easily captain someone like Kylian Mbappe if you really wanted to. But again, it comes down to that sort of risk of rotation. Will Mbappe get benched for match day 3? There's a good chance he plays in match day 2. I'm not quite sure. The teams are getting announced in about 10 minutes from when I'm recording this. So I think he'll probably play match day 2 by the sounds of things. And then it wouldn't shock me if they were to rest Kylian Mbappe into match day 3, obviously literally breaking his nose in match day 1. I don't think I'd put that too far past them. Obviously, you could then captain a potential Netherlands option at 5 o'clock. But for me, my captaincy on that day would be Harry Kane. I think, you know, Slovenia fixture is arguably the easiest on paper. So yeah, I'd expect England to score 2 or more goals in this game, but it is England, so don't hold me to that. But yeah, for me, Harry Kane would definitely be having the armband on this 3rd day of the match day. And then looking forward onto the final day of the match day, no one surpasses Romelu Lukaku for me. I think even if Ronaldo was definitely going to play, I would choose Lukaku over Ronaldo, just because he's just got so much goal threat. And like, no one had more chances than him in that match day 1. I haven't obviously seen him in match day 2 just yet, but for me, Romelu Lukaku, I would 100% captain him and have quite a lot of faith in him scoring. I just thought that match day 1 was just a huge anomaly of him having 2 goals ruled out, 3 big chances missed. It was just not his day. So I think, yeah, going forward, Lukaku, for me, arguably going to be the goal scorer of the tournament. It'll be interesting to see how he does in match day 2, and he has an absolute blunder, should I say, and him not perform well at all. But we'll wait and see on that. So there we go then. So that is my Limitless match day 3 team. Let me know what you think of it in the comments, and any questions that you have coming up for this deadline. I'll be keen to reply to as many as I possibly can as up to the deadline as possible. So yeah, make sure you get those questions commented. What do you think of my captaincy strategy? Would you be captaining someone different, or would you be looking for more punty players maybe on the 1st or 2nd day? Let me know about that in the comments as well. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. We massively appreciate your support, especially if you stuck around to the end of the video. We really appreciate it. Hit a like if you have enjoyed it and it's helped you plan your Limitless Match Day 3 team. But until next time, I've been Josh. Thank you very much for watching, and have a good match day, everyone.
So you may rise, but you'll never make me wanna stick around you.